This is entirely your fault. You started this blaze. I cautioned you repeatedly, Karen. You were never allowed to excavate on this property. See the disaster you've triggered. Lives were lost due to your actions. It became a horrible tragedy. Nobody truly deserved injury, much less death, on that terrible day. Yet I suppose when individuals choose poorly, they must face the results. You understand, I work as a farmer and possess several properties in this area. My routines tend to stay calm, foreseeable, and straightforward, formed by earth, climate, and daily duties. Welcome to my channel. Remember to like and subscribe for the best HOA conflicts. My farmland, sadly, lies right beside a secured HOA neighborhood. And actually, certain sections were acquired ages ago before that development even appeared, during a time when the ground remained untouched, unregulated, and open. I experienced various HOA leaders, and the majority proved acceptable, meddlers at their most annoying. However, this latest president, Karen, showed up like an alarm with her papers in hand. She acted domineering, impolite, and obsessed with penalties, checking lawn heights using measuring tools, monitoring garbage bins by the clock, and dangling liens as casual gifts. Homeowners dreaded her outbursts. Still, she craved greater authority, expanded space, and increased focus. One early morning, prior to dawn, the earth began shaking, and metallic shrieks pierced the mist. I walked out and observed massive equipment tearing into one of my pastures, clouds of dirt rising like distress calls. A few HOA committee members waited there wearing official jackets, acting as if they held real power. They informed me their director, Karen, had approved a drilled shaft for a community water storage tank, citing urgent group needs and special authority. No approvals, no advance warning, only sheer boldness. I explained that the property stayed privately owned, titled, and clearly indicated. Nevertheless, they chuckled as though I were some difficult animal. I circled the edges, spotting relocated markers, disregarded notices, and violated limits. An uneasy sensation grew stronger than a simple intrusion. That ground carried past events, conduits, rights of way, and cautions gained from painful experiences. I insisted they halt operations right away, but they delayed, phoning Karen via loudspeaker as the motors continued rumbling. Her tone sounded arrogant and indifferent over the call, instructing them to keep going and advising me to relax since advancement stops for no one. Locals assembled, recording video, murmuring, puzzled by the disorder. Rage built inside me, mixed with deep fear. For when blind authority collides with hidden hazards, outcomes refuse to bargain. That instant carved a serious alert deep within me. Meanwhile, the devices bored further while Karen grinned from afar, free from immediate repercussions. Before we explore this further, please share in the comments which nation or town you are viewing this tale from. We enjoy discovering how widely this narrative spreads. That property never qualified as normal ground. Any person who took the time to examine the displayed notices would recognize that boring into it carried extreme risk right away. Underneath lay an old petroleum pipeline guarded by regulations, legal passage, and basic wisdom. A leftover from previous fuel eras, yet operational and under pressure. I had installed caution markers seasons earlier, vivid and plain, since inquisitiveness ends lives quicker than flames. It became obvious fast that these committee people had either overlooked the signs or received directions to act unaware. I stopped the equipment personally, positioning myself ahead of one machine until the driver powered it off. Next, I informed the team that we must talk directly with Karen. Hesitantly, they consented, irritated yet uneasy, and I headed immediately toward the HOA headquarters. Karen occupied her spot behind the window like royalty conducting business, her drink hot, her grin keen. I described the situation steadily, noting that boring there equaled trespass plus reckless endangerment, offenses carrying penalties, court cases, and jail time. She dismissed me casually, claiming HOA powers outranked growers who clung to unused fields. I cautioned her once more, speaking deliberately and plainly, that the issue went beyond real estate prices or liquid supply. It concerned protection, build-up, and blasts that ignore requests. Karen reclined and grinned mockingly, stating my acreage was at last serving a purpose, and the group had chosen advancement. I replied that there existed no election, no authorization, no inspection approval, and that the proceeding would endanger human lives. She vowed a committee session, an evaluation, and an agreement that strangely demanded the excavation to proceed. I departed enraged but methodical, recording all details, contacting my attorney, submitting formal alerts, and sending cautions to every contact possible. That weekend, I traveled away from town to oversee a different property elsewhere. attempting to settle my thoughts and rely on the formal notices plus legal papers to restrain Karen. I left Friday night with documents beside me and worry as my companion. By Sunday midday, I traveled homeward, the radio softly sharing area news as vehicles moved slowly. Suddenly, the report shifted tone. Sharp, brief, recognizable. A blaze had erupted close to the edges. Several teams were sent out. Residents urged to leave. The spot struck me hard. I pressed the gas pedal down. Dark smoke marked the skyline in black and fiery hues, swirling high like a personal beacon aimed solely at me. Emergency horns wailed by as I covered the last distance, my pulse racing stronger than the motor. Upon reaching the site, disorder dominated the pasture. Blazes touched steel, soil cracked wide, and the odor of burning liquid scorched the atmosphere. Fire crews rushed about, lines fighting a flame fueled by a force that declined to fade easily. Onlookers remained distant, weeping, capturing footage, stunned. I declared myself the property holder and gained quick access beyond the barrier just long enough to witness the destruction. The drilled shaft had pierced something profound, something merciless. 2 individuals had perished, their loss weighing more than any description. 4 additional people remained wounded, their expressions marked by grime and trauma, anticipating medical transport. Karen stayed absent from the location, yet her name echoed in quiet conversations, fury blending with incredulity. Journalists thrust recording devices at every person present. Lights from cameras burst repeatedly. I responded solely with essential details, sharing accurate accounts, sequences, and prior cautions. Emergency leaders verified an underground conduit failure along with a continuing probe. The boring apparatus rested warped and fused, serving as a symbol of hubris. As evening descended, the blaze at last yielded, abandoning burned terrain and quiet. I remained standing there, dazed, understanding that each disregarded caution had transformed into reality, every chuckle reduced to cinders. Somewhere distant from the fumes, Karen rested peacefully, oblivious that the earth had at last responded, and it would keep responding for the foreseeable future. The inquiry came like cold weather, gradual initially, then pervasive. Government examiners, blaze authorities, conduit specialists, and investigators questioned teams, residents, and me, gathering messages, time records, approvals, and documented alerts. My notifications reappeared. My diagrams corresponded with rites of passage, and my conversations were documented. The shaft's measurement corresponded exactly to the break, eliminating uncertainty and revealing the purpose clearly. Karen attempted to direct the story, accusing builders, conditions, and my alleged threats. That effort failed once committee communications emerged, directing workers to disregard indicators and operate through the night. Questioning sessions undermined her assurance. She faltered on timelines, gave conflicting statements, and scowled until proof trapped her. The committee members yielded initially, exchanging truthfulness for reduced punishment, confessing coercion, intimidation, and offering benefits. Accusations came next: intrusion, reckless endangerment, and unintentional homicide allegations connected to careless approval. The trial room carried a solemn atmosphere. Relatives mourning, lenses recording, quietness intense. I gave evidence once straightforwardly without drama. The magistrate paid attention. Panel members observed Karen diminish from oppressor to accused, fury swapped for terror. Decisions struck firmly. Punishments came afterward, balanced, but stern. Karen completed her term within walls and bars, deprived of power and followers. Compensation requirements strained finances, liquidating possessions to repay households, handled treatment expenses, and repair property. The HOA ended amid reviews, claims, and legal actions. Fresh direction emerged with guidelines revised, focusing on agreement, authorizations, and modesty. My pastors recovered gradually. Ground treated, indicators renewed, and confidence restored, step by step. I continue cultivating. I continue displaying caution. I continue trusting that disaster instructs when pride rejects teachings, that occasion claimed existence, and no compensation equals that absence. Yet responsibility counts. Authority lacking understanding resembles boring equipment lacking controls, and outcomes invariably locate the core. The soil retains memory. Thus, we ought to as well. Tributes were erected, identities were voiced clearly, and protection exercises were required throughout the region. Since avoidance holds importance following sorrow, I supported educational grants for the affected households, not for forgiveness but esteem. Limits received fresh measurements, conduits charted openly, and crisis practices repeated until indifference at last lost influence. Responsibility persisted, alertness reemerged, and quietness never substituted alerts ever again afterward. The end. Please like and subscribe for additional HOA confrontations of this nature. Do you believe she received appropriate justice? Share your thoughts in the comments.